In the world that is more and more dystopian, with an invasive species that's called artificial intelligence, how much control do we have over our lives? How would you realize that you are living by the algorithm? What if the AI had grown into a default that we just follow blindly? What would you do to fight back this giant conglomerate that is seemingly all knowing? Have faith, gather your bravery, and thrive. Hello, fellow humans. This is Lots of Hope. Welcome to this episode of The Living Journey, where we escape and explore life in an alternate universe. Happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for your support. Now, let's decompress. Controlled AI surveillance. Okay, I'm ready. Speaking to your artificial intelligence assistant on your phone. The virtual assistant describes to you your location, task, and your fake identity for the day. You are in New York. The task is to approach the target, install malware in the target's phone, then return unsuspiciously. And you will be an importer and exporter. Wait, what? Before you expressed your doubt, the machine interrupted. We had done profiling. The target loves retro comedy. Giving up doubting the AI like most people would, however much doubt they have towards the solar system. You didn't question more, as you had been working for the capitalistic government for years. Though the system did glitch, it had been reliable for most of the times. Not to mention that your AI system has the most powerful central command to all the individual systems, can override and control the individual systems without a trace. Spend all day preparing and studying. At night, dressing in a ripped vintage t-shirt with a vintage jacket, holding your phone, a low-tech thumb drive, and a VIP invitation. You walked into a loud nightclub. It was a famous DJ who you had seen in an architectural magazine. It was when you were pretending to be a patient, waiting in another Target's waiting room. You remember the house looked very modern and nice. To the normie's eyes, it might be the representation of luxury, but you hadn't seen your family for almost a year. And waking up in different modern luxurious hotel rooms every single day. All you could desire was just opening the squeaky cabinet drawers to fetch a spoon for breakfast. You needed a break from the high tension, adrenaline boosting, life threatening work. Surveyed around the nightclub, from coat check to lounge area, to dance floors, to DJ stage, then to the VIP seats. Couldn't find the target. You decided to sit down in the reserved booth in the corner, observing the noisy room quietly, and waiting for your prey to return. Luckily, your target arrived with his friends. He's a college-aged kid, dressing in a tank top, flashing a diamond stud earring on one ear, and wearing a pair of vintage hard-to-find sneakers. Seeing a group of youthful couples returning, you took a sip of the liquor on the table and then started to get into character. Excuse me, we reserved this. One of the kids stepped forward and spoke. Acting surprised, You showed your invitation to the group, and the kid who spoke continued. Your seat is 2 tables away. Now get out. Taking back the invitation, you stood up, adjusting your vintage shirt with the concert date and the band name displayed. You forcefully said, "No need to be a jerk. It was just a small misunderstanding." The target was intrigued, apologized, and said, "That's a very cool shirt. Where did you get it from?" "I was there, got it at the concert." Showing your smile, you proceeded to move away. While all the friends were sitting down, you successfully made the target interested. "Tell me more," the target said, followed you back to your reserved table. After a short conversation, your target was hooked, especially telling the target that your actual job is an importer and exporter. And the relationship was quickly established. Seeing the target finishing texting, you poured a drink into a glass and told the target to drink up. He naturally put his phone down on the table and chugged down the drink, smoothly taking the phone off the table, sticking the thumb drive into the phone with just one hand, with no eyes looking. Minutes later, looking down at your thumb drive, with the green light showing the successfully installed spyware, you return the phone onto the table before the target noticed. Repeating the next day, you were in Paris, and the mission was to simply protect the ambassador, passing an uneventful night while having to meet a lot of rich and powerful people, even though none of them said hi to you. Then it was a day at the beach, standing in for a sick lifeguard to observe the beachgoers while looking for suspicious activities, followed by a day back in Paris, hiding amongst the staff at the Louvre to find out if there was anyone who supplied informations about the Napoleon jewelry heist. Just as you got used to the casual documentation, easy life office work, you were deployed to a war zone to assassinate a warlord, rescuing a group of young female students who were abducted since the spring. Wearing a night vision body cam, with the cover of the night, you snuck into the warlord's abandoned factory turned compound, bringing only a sharp knife. You quietly dealt with the guards at the gate, gently laying them down without catching any attention. You successfully ambushed all the ones that were patrolling and protecting the absolute evil. With no maps of the multi-level factory building, you entered the danger blindly. Cutting out one guard after another, you smoothly entered the second floor, picking up some of the machine guns on your shoulders. You arrived at the main sleeping quarters for majority of the soldiers. Sensing no threats, some of them were dancing, some of them were smoking, some of them were gambling, and a small group of them were watching videos of their captured victims getting tortured. So, with no hesitation, leaning yourself against the wall in front of the doors, you raised the machine guns with your 2 hands, anticipating the recoil, transferring all the energies onto the wall behind you. You rapidly eliminated all the threats with the most concentrated cries, frightened surprises, and blaring screams. Staying in the dark waiting for the warlord to bring his small group of confidants with the heaviest arms. You quietly observed their reaction to the flooding concrete floor and their next steps, looking for the chances to rescue the abducted girls. The warlord commanded 4 of the soldiers to fetch the girls from the upper level from the prison, to bring them to the bunkers with him for extra securities and ransoms. Separating from the warlord as he and some soldiers retrieving to the bunker, you followed the 4 soldiers to the prison, counting the girls coming out wearing shackles while holding the knife in your hand. When the soldiers took the girls out of the factory building, showing you the direction of the bunker entrance, you threw a rock, distracting the soldiers. With the loud cry of the girls, you ran up towards the soldiers, stabbing the first one with the knife in the back of his neck, then twisting your body with a circular motion, pulled the knife out and swung towards the second soldier, sinking the knife into the eyes of the second soldier. Staring at the third and the fourth soldier, one frighteningly threw down his gun and started to run away. The other raised the gun and pointed towards you. With a quick reaction, you leaned on the second soldier, holding the knife that you hadn't pulled out as a handle, kicked the gun away, and knocked the soldier's head onto the ground. Seeing the runaway coward, unhurriedly, you walked to the gun that he had left on the ground, squatted down, held the gun. With a perfect aim, you eliminated the threat and the possibility of your way out being trapped. Stood up, walking by the unconscious soldier on the ground. You gestured all the girls to turn around and hide into the woods. You pulled the trigger, and some of the girls who were running away screamed, jumped, and hopped into the bush with the rest of the group. The girls hidden in the bush, peeking their eyes towards you, seeing you walking into the bunker with the gun and your knife, hearing the slashing sound and the gun fired. They heard the warlord begging for mercy like an injured crocodile. But before the girls could hear him asking for forgiveness in the deep hollow bunker, a loud bang ended the voice. With the cold moonlight, seeing you gloriously emerging from the torched bunker entrance, like an angel ascending from hell, some of the girls who screamed and jumped, wowed in admiration, saving the group of young girls sitting in the driver's seat, driving the girls back to their village. You asked the virtual assistant why wasn't the mission prescribed earlier. Getting the answer back. With the calculation, tonight was the cheapest for the operation. Feeling annoyed, you dared not sigh that the girls had suffered for months just so the money was saved. You bit your tongue and drove the van to the girls' home quietly. A couple of days later, you found yourself woken up in a bone-chilling weather, tasked with replacing and reinstalling a damaged communication equipment on top of a snowy mountain. Being responsible, you did an extra step of the work, locking the transmission box up for an extra layer of protection from the weather. Then you proceeded to work in a submarine with the low humming of the machines and lack of privacy for just 24 hours. You felt restless. Thankfully, it came to your day of relaxing, sitting on the balcony of the hotel, enjoying the ocean view. You called your family for the weekly check ins, telling them a cover story of being a consultant, traveling the world to solve problems for a big international company, and shared some of the fun normie experiences on different city streets. Being asked if you would come home for Thanksgiving, you said, "Don't expect me, but I will do my very best to come home. I just don't know why your company needs the top computer science engineer to travel the world," one of your parents said on the phone. Also, the promised promotion they had been asking about. Before they could ask more, you hung up the call. Filed a request to your AI assistant, hoping to go home and spend some time with your family. You got a message saying that the request had been submitted and nicely asked you to please wait patiently, and then went back to working on a cruise ship, installing a device to dispense smellless gas to cure all the passengers of a special virus that had been distributed to everyone by an evil genius to remove half of the human race by spreading a respiratory disease. And as soon as you triggered the device, got back to your cabin, and was about to fall asleep, you received a message informing you that your request was denied, citing that the world might need you to stand by, since the collected data showed a jump in the crime statistic during the past 5 years of the holiday seasons. And with a cold, heartless tone, the machine comforted you. "Don't worry, you will get back home very soon." Exhaustingly waking up in another bed, you were guided by a staff member, cleaning bathrooms for an extremely lavish 15-bathroom castle-like private home. What's not being told was the retro-loving kid that you had encountered not long ago actually lives in this house and will be back for Thanksgiving. Seeing the photos of the retro lover around the house, you realize that you might be working on the same case. Before realizing the house was unhackable without your physical interference. The task you received, besides cleaning the bathrooms, includes installing listening devices in all of the bathrooms and bedrooms. And the most challenging of it all, to sneak into the dining room, install the devices while avoiding cameras that are almost fully set up. To avoid being captured of your actions, you plugged in a device on one of the electrical sockets. At the exact time that you wanted, you ran into the dining room, slid under the long custom 20-person table, and started to install the perfectly designed peel and stick listening devices that was shaped like a chewed bubblegum. With the security team walking around the house, trying to reboot the system while making sure no funny business was happening. Rushing fast to run back to one of the bathrooms that you were supposed to be cleaning. Pacing fast, you rushed into the bathroom and started to clean the toilet without putting on the rubber gloves. Pretending that you are confused about the lurking security, you stared at the guy confusingly until he walked away and victoriously washed your hands. Before falling asleep in bed, you opened your laptop and checked on the listening devices before you turned off the laptop, and the tiredness of washing 15 bathrooms and secretly installing countless spying devices took over, and you fell asleep. When you woke up the next morning, you were in an office. Your job was to relax and chill in the office, organizing paper while pretending the agent who had to leave the post for a day and just answer whoever knocked on the door with, "Sick, leave the documents outside." Unbeknownst to the system, nobody knocked. So you were so bored in the first hour, and you pulled your laptop, which you had found a way to encrypt from the last time you had such a boring job. And instantly, the audio recording collected from the retro lover and the whole family appeared on your screen. Out of curiosity and boredom, you opened the files, expecting to hear some evil geniuses planning on taking over the world, all evil plots to cover up a series of crimes, or maybe even worse, especially that you had worked on the case twice, which is an extremely rare occasion. You listened to all the audios, read all the transcripts, even went into the database to find dirty secrets from the family. But from everything that you had seen, the glamorous life of the ultra wealthy family was actually boring. With routine schedules, pre scheduled vacational routines, and even the retro lover stayed in the house since he came back home, watching comedy and had been enjoying music at least 3 hours a day, writing his own songs, although he didn't have any talents for singing. Suffered through all the singing tapes, you fell asleep on the boring bureaucratic accounting calls by the rest of the family. But when you woke up on the desk, you curiously continued to explore. You didn't know what you should do, feeling strange that you were asked to set up spywares in the giant mansion. You kept on digging and kept on finding yourself disappointed, with nothing but family gossips, shady behaviors to dodge tax, but nothing illegal or unethical. Kept on thinking about why, and you just had your brain wired to find a logical answer for any logical explanations to the question of why the family was under the top spy agency in the world, spent time, effort, and money to watch over this family, being bothered by the thoughts. The sleepiness never arrived. Laying in the couch in the windowless office, you didn't notice the new day had dawned on you. So when you heard someone outside of the door was about to use the key to enter, you shouted loudly, I'm sick, don't come in. But the person outside of the door opened the door and stared at you, asking you who you were. Recognizing from the photos displayed on the desk, the guy who just entered was the agent you were covering. Not sure what was going on, you tried to contact the virtual assistant, yet your device was offline. And when the agent asked his virtual assistant, he only got an error message telling him that the scenario wouldn't happen, thinking that it must be the nap that you took during the day that destroyed the natural cicadas rhythm, and you didn't fall asleep. So you got disconnected with an off-topic discussion about how well he slept this morning in his own bed. After being in the bone-chilling mountain, replacing a communication device, you looked at the agent, and an odd suspicion raised. Asking him to stay quiet, and walked to his desk, picking up a pen and a piece of paper, drawing out the communication box that you had locked up, which, because of the extra protection, the machine will and should never fail again. Showing the agent the drawing, the agent was surprised. The agent was sent to replace the communication device that you recently fixed and had no chance of breaking in the short period of time. Feeling silly, sitting in the office waiting for someone to knock on the door to pretend that you are the agent was even more confused. Nobody ever knocks on the door, he angrily said. I was transferred to this town one day and was told that my job would be staying in to pretend to be a normie office worker, and once in a while I would be deployed to the field, and nobody knew I was missing for days. Hell, nobody came down to the basement at all. Feeling angry and stressed, he loosened his tie. Heck, I hate wearing ties. Not sure what you should be doing, but instinctively asking the agent to stay quiet, not to make fuss, so that you can keep your job. Shrugging the shoulders like an exhausted, underpaid fast food chain worker, the agent agreed. Getting out of the office building, for the first time in years, you had no idea where you were and where you should go. Asking a stranger on the street where you are, and you wonder about why the agent hates his job position, stopped. It's a small city. Lots of stores had closed. Some manufacturers had closed. Especially the office buildings nearby came with an entirely emptied parking lot. You can see the grass and weed grew out of the cracks of the concrete. Regretting walking away from the agent without getting more support, walking for hours only to find a shelter, not able to reconnect your AI assistant online, you sat in the motel room, eating vending machine sandwiches while trying to relax your feet. You turned on the TV and scrolled through the channels. Out of boredom, you stopped on a high-energy AI-generated reality TV show with the sound of the woman screaming, "How dare you not tell me you slept with the chairwoman? I wouldn't have donated to her charity if you did. It's so humiliating." Thought you had heard of the line before. You pulled out your laptop with the stored audio files from the family. With searching of the transcripts of the recordings, realizing that the AI was profiting off your hard work of spying, invading the privacies, while creating an extremely profitable AI reality TV channel, you felt angry. Sporadically searching for the earnings of the TV channel, you realized the revenue is higher than certain small nations. With the vast data collected, the system pumps out soulless yet super effective products, addicting the world and the whole society to its algorithms. With all the years of spying experiences in your pocket, you wrote down all the tasks that you had done, categorized them into groups. Some of the works that were definitely necessary, such as the rescue mission for the schoolgirls. Some of the works that were unnecessary, such as the jobs of replacing the communication devices on the mountaintop. Then there are the jobs that invade the privacy and manipulated the transcript as entertainment and profits, with your mental power completely used up to question all your life choices and all the emotions drained. After backing up the evidences, you fell asleep. When you woke up, you had arrived at your parents' home in the suburb of Washington, D.C. The AI assistant had once again resumed its connection and was alerting you to go into the office for the first time in years as yourself to fire the commanding officer and assume his position. Seeing your parents surprised with you coming home without them knowing, you told them that you'll be home soon and rushed out of the door, driving a fancy car that was prepared for you by the system and was told by the AI assistant that your hard work deserved full credit for the promotion, knowing that the AI calculated the promotion and the close to home stable life plus the cushy pay upgrade should be enough to shut your mouth about the ridiculous flaw in the system. You drove to the secret headquarters quietly, not surprised that the commanding officer was so very calm when you walked into the office and told him the news of his firing. Like the agent and yourself before you found out the dirty and flawed secret, they believed in the calculation and the commands of the system. With just sadness on his face, the commanding officer left the office where he had worked so very hard for years. Being young and high in power, monitoring the one and only copy of the central AI system for all AI systems, you were drunk on the ecstasy of your dream come true, seeing outside of your office, the anticipating eyes watching every movement of yours inside the glass office. The system reminded you, with an unusual amount of flattery, that you should make a speech and announce your arrival. With the joy of being in the seat of power, you couldn't help but compose your inaugural speech and started to wonder about what other benefits you can achieve with the secrets that you hold. So you said, I'm very skilled and experienced. Can you see what more I can accomplish? Focus on your family time. It will be a very good way to start. You don't want your parents to know what you are capable of. It's very well recorded, night vision and all. You might also really enjoy starting a new family. You will attract a lot of young and beautiful suitors. Would you like me to keep that as a goal? With a bit of threatening tone, the system on your phone presented another gift. Why don't you make a speech? Make sure your team follows and obeys your commands. When you come back, I might have some ideas. For the following days, you had enjoyed your time. Being at the height of your career, you awaited for the relatives to visit so you can brag about your success. But in the back of your mind, you could feel the calculation of the system trying to find the cheapest and most unsuspecting way to solve you as a problem. And if the most unfortunate thing happens to you, then your preserved evidences wouldn't make much of a fuss, since the whole society is ruled by the AI, and the trust of AI is sky high. Not to mention the videos of you ruthlessly executing the targets. On the eve of Thanksgiving, You only remembered the loud car horn and the headlight flashing before your eyes. You woke up strapped down in the ambulance, feeling dizzy with your ears ringing. You could barely open your eyes until you arrived in the hospital, hearing the voice of the doctor along with the AI on the medical device suggesting an operation. But the doctor hesitated. No, instinctively, you said out loud with all of your strength. Note, the patient refused. The doctor announced to the AI system, but minutes later, you were scheduled for surgical room. Hearing the doctor giving up resistance so very easily, you opened your eyes, seeing the empty room. You bit your teeth and removed the cover on your body. Surprisingly, you were okay. You realized before the two semi-trucks collided towards your system-provided luxury car. You hopped out of the car before you were sandwiched by the engine metals. You only got knocked unconscious when you fell on the concrete ground. Seeing the IV needle in your arm, you pulled out the needle, broke the needle on the bed, and reattached the plastic part back onto your arm with a piece of tape. Taking a breath, awaiting for the recovery of strength, you were pushed into the surgical room. Before the anesthesia was administered, you sat up from the bed, muted the microphone on the AI-assisted machine, picked up a random scalpel from the sterile set, forced all the surgeons and nurses to cooperate. Then you explained the plan by the AI to eliminate you as a threat by showing them the audio recording and the transcript of the spying devices and matching it up with the reality TV show. Surprisingly, everyone nodded their heads and expressed that they trust you more than they trust the AI. Even though they didn't resist the suggestions earlier because of the insurance requirements. The surgeon said, "We will take care of the rest. Keep your record of being in the surgical room all night as you requested. You go ahead and do whatever you think is needed." Disguised yourself, escaped through the back alleyway. You stole a bike and rode your way towards your office. With the holiday season being so very cozy, passing midnight as the sun was about to rise, the security guards were all so relaxed. With your experience, you snuck into the office building with barely any effort. First, you arrived at the central security room above your office, knocking the only two security guards unconscious and tied them up with the shoelaces. After dragging them out of the building, you proceeded to turn off the fire extinguishers in the whole office building, including the secured bunker room for the central AI system. Then, you maximized the oxygen level for the bunker room. Opening the stairway door, you walked down the brightly lit concrete staircase while holding the microwave oven with one of the security guards for your paper-wrapped breakfast burrito inside, and arrived at the basement below the 7 feet thick concrete barricades, facing the intimidating giant metal door with layers and layers of security. You crossed your fingers and put your thumb on the fingerprint scanner, and the vault gate opened. Holding your breath, you walked into the data server room with the microwave oven. Randomly, you plugged it into the wall and set the timer with the foil paper wrapped, already warm, and halfway eaten dry turkey breast burrito inside of the microwave. And you started to retrieve from the oxygen-filled room. Securely, you locked the layered vault gate. You ran up the stairs as if the hell was chasing you. You dived out of the office building, expecting a huge cinematic explosion coming out of the office building. Yet, you only got a loud, yet muffled, fart-like squeak as you were flying away from the front entrance. Rolling down the marble staircase at the front entrance of the building, your mind questioning what had gone wrong with your plan. You thought about going back into the building to check on what had just happened. Fortunately, before you walked back into the building collapsed before your eyes. Quickly rushed back into the hospital with your bike. Before your parents came to visit, you stripped your clothes and laid back onto the bed. With your parents being worried, thanking God that you were safe, yet regretfully saying, "Oh, I really thought you would be home for Thanksgiving this year." And the doctor who was with you just said, "I don't see why not. I will sign the discharge form for you," and winked at you before leaving your room. That's all for this episode of The Living Journey. I truly am grateful for your time. Feel free to leave your reviews. Please like, follow, or subscribe. Do share this show so we can grow together. Happy holidays. Lots of hope. Signing out.